Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing phenomenal. I thought it would be fun to do a video based on Chief Handler despises the poor. I'm very thankful to Mr. Chief Handler because, ironically, I do a video on gang stalking and targeting individuals, and bam, up pops the handler. I'd say that was right on time. So Mr. Handler was ever so kind to give his input here, and he said, "You're completely insane. Drug addict. Maybe you should talk to a doctor. Magic spells. Get help." Okay, I added the laugh at the end, but I thought it was appropriate. So maybe Mr. Handler, who despises the poor, even though you have a poor spirit, maybe you might not be aware of where the English language originated. Maybe you're not familiar with the fact that it's a bunch of languages that have been put together. I'll add a video here. Also, language is indeed magic spells. I'll add that in here as well. But sure, go ahead and call me insane. My IQ was a 1 point shy of genius, but there is a thin line between genius and insanity. So might I appear borderline at times? Sure. Also, oftentimes, don't people who are intelligent sound ignorant to the dumb? Not dumb. I don't want to say dumb. To the ignorant. So I appreciate you, handler, coming in, popping up on my page because it gives me a chance to share more information. That's the way I see it. Because I could choose to take your comments personal and get offended, or I could choose to take the information I know I have and share it. Maybe the problem isn't that my information is wrong. Maybe it's more about the delivery of my information. Maybe I need to be a little more clear when I speak.
Where did English come from? Some people think English originated in the USA, but it didn't. The English we know today originated in England, but that English evolved from another type of English, Old English and Middle English, and those languages originated from other languages. Modern English shares Latin words. Those words were not part of English originally. Latin words came to England with the Norman invasion in 1066. England was conquered by the French, and the French brought their language with them. The vocabulary grew with the new French and Latin words, as well as the language spoken in England. That language is called Old English. Old English belongs to the Germanic language.
As if the world wasn't bizarre enough as it is, you will now learn that the words we choose to use in our everyday thoughts have magical elements to them, and you are casting spells when you speak and write. It is the art of directing and controlling energy with a spoken word. Words that transform into frequencies and vibrations that can be used to direct energy. Numbers have magical elements also. In fact, the numeral and alphabet system were created based on sacred geometry and sacred sound, and therefore, numbers and letters have magical properties to them. The art of magic is often practiced with certain sacred magnetic words. These sound tones have powerful vibrational patterns, which are used to direct and control energy, and allows you to harness its power if you know what you are doing.
This is called cymatics. Remember, our body is made up of 80% water, and water is living.
Sound is one of the natural forces used by nature to create crystalline structures and sacred geometries, which are some of the building blocks of matter.
Why is English spelling so weird? It starts back around the year 600 AD, when Christian missionaries arrived in England with their Roman alphabet. They found the Anglo-Saxons, who spoke a Germanic language with different kinds of sounds like th and ch that Latin didn't have. So scribes came up with their own ways to write them. Over a long time, everyone finally settled on the GH for the ch. But there's no ch in thought anymore. The pronunciation changed. Over hundreds of years, ch turned to f in words like cough and enough, or disappeared entirely in words like though or thought. As those changes were getting underway, the printing press was invented, and that was great for the spread of written English. But unfortunately, it was also great for the spread of the spellings that printers had decided on before the pronunciation changes already in progress were complete. Other pronunciation changes that happened over this time period were the loss of certain sounds at the beginning of words and an almost complete overhaul of the entire vowel system of English known as the Great Vowel Shift. As if that wasn't complicated enough, the French-speaking Normans had taken over in 1066, and French was the language of educated culture, courts, and universities in England for a few hundred years. Those years left their mark on English vocabulary and spelling. So, for the most part, the answer to why do we spell it that way is either because we used to pronounce it that way or because that's how they did it in French. But sometimes we can't blame either of those things. In the late 1500s, English spelling had stabilized well enough, but some Renaissance scholars who were all fired up about classical Latin and Greek decided not to leave well enough alone. They thought the glory of the ancient world should be better reflected in the current one. They decided words like receipt, salmon, indict, and debt needed to put their Latin roots on better display. So they purposely added letters that no one had ever pronounced in English. They also found ways to connect words to their Greek roots and give them a fancier, classical look to replace homelier but more sensible spellings. And sometimes the classical craze went a little too far. The word island, for example, came from an Old English word iglund. It didn't come from Latin at all. And people were happily pronouncing it and writing it as island, until someone picked up an S from the Latin insula and stuck it where it was never meant to be. Finally, we have a whole bunch of words that we simply borrowed from other languages as is, including another later wave of French words that we left in their original spellings. English loves to borrow from everywhere. Sometimes we borrow from languages that bring their own silent letters and spelling issues, and they then become our spelling issues too. And sometimes we borrow the same word from two different places. That's what happened with colonel. We borrowed it from French, along with a lot of other military vocabulary in the 1500s. Back then, they said it and spelled it as coronel. Later, English scholars started translating old Italian military treatises where it was colonnello. Time goes by, and wouldn't you know it, people are spelling it the Italian way and pronouncing it the French way. Meanwhile, the French switched over to colonel in spelling and pronunciation. How boring is that? So there's a lot of blame to go around for the spelling situation we find ourselves in. You might not find any comfort in that the next time English sneaks up on you with another crazy spelling prank. But try not to get too mad at English. It's not an arbitrary meaning. It's just a victim of a complicated history.
Grammar. What is the word grammar? It's the rules of language governing the sounds, the words, sentences, and other elements, as well as their combination and interpretations. The word grammar also denotes the study of those abstract features or a book presenting these rules. Grammar. So where did the word grammar come from? Grimoire. What is a grimoire? A book of spells. The Book of Abermelin, the Madge. You have the 6th and the 7th books of Moses. You have the Keys of Solomon, yada, yada. So, grimoire, spells, magic, grammar. Okay. So, just like pharmacy The word pharmacy, where does that come from? It is a word that originally meant charm or enchantment. It was pharma, pharmaco, like the word pharmacy. The word pharmacy, what is it? We say it in English, but the word pharmacy is actually a combination of a Greek word and a Latin word. Pharmacia, pharmacy, pharmaco. There's a few ways you can say it. But what does it mean? Magic, potion, medicine, cure. All right. Drugstores. But I'm on drugs, right? Okay. So here I am. The handler has stated that I'm a drug addict who's crazy. What I'm showing you is a little bit more about the origin of words, where they come from, a little bit of cymatics, because cymatics goes with this magic because there's power in words. How were words created? In the beginning was the word. We think it, we speak it, we bring it forth. What are you bringing forth? Hopefully it's good.